following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
This week on the Defy Life Podcast, the guys discuss the lack of diversity in the NFL, talk NFL playoffs, whether a college degree is necessary for success, and more. And of course, they wrap things up with some trivia. On to the show.
Yeah, that's what it is. I guess we gotta do it then. You alright? Check. Pool. Money. West Coast. Let's get it. Strap in, let's take a ride. Oh yeah, it's about that time, right? Been waiting all week to get to this. It's finally time to defy life. Let's chop it up, keep it real, no other way. That's what we do. We might disagree, but it's all love. Guarantee we gon' speak the truth. Yeah, this hit different. My guys with me now. Who's with us? Stick around for a few minutes. It's contagious. You'll get it. You downloaded the realest. Don't feel us, forget out. You not rocking with Defy Life, then what's your life about? This ain't the Defy Life. Told you. This is the Defy Life. I'm gonna let this ride out though. This is the Defy Life. This is the Defy Life. Welcome back to the Defy Life Podcast. Powered by the Defy Life Podcast Network. This episode is sponsored by Bud Bottles, home of the Bud Bottle and the Bud Freshener. Please visit budbottles.com for your odor eliminating needs. This is episode 139, ladies and gentlemen. Come on in, wipe your feet, and close the door behind you. I'm your host, J.R. Glenf. Joined as always by my wonderful co-host. I never do this alone, Alvin Glenf. Keon Small, what's good with you, Al?
I'm good, big homie. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Good.
Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. You were out last week. How was your New Year, sir?
My New Year's was good. Actually, I brought in New Year's with my wife, my sister-in-law, a friend, just playing spades. We played a just Jamaican board game called Ludi. We got twisted, we drank, and just brought it with my wife, so it was good. Had a good New Year's. And then the actual New Year's Day, every year we got some good friends that do like a New Year's Day crab boil, and we watch the college football game and have a drink, and all his friends, college buddies, come through. So I had a good New Year's Day. Just had to work the day after that, but other than that, yeah, 2020 was a good start.
All right. Well, yeah, the memo we got on the secretary's desk is you was out cow tipping, so we know what you was doing, man. So
that's how we celebrate after the crab boil.
No, all right.
Yeah, me and the college buddies, we walk around our neighborhood, and so that time our secretary got it right because I was out there cow tipping.
All right, well, good shit. We just let everybody know you full-fledged Georgian now.
Full-fledged Georgian, but the real I learned how to cow tip in rural New York when I was a college student at Colgate University, because that's about as rural as you get as well. And yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, it's good to hear your voice, man. Good to have you back this week.
Same here. Good to be here.
No doubt. Mr. Small, what's good with you?
Yeah, what up, man? Just ready to start the year off right, man.
Translation, he ready to talk about Jason Garrett getting fired.
Right, exactly. That's all. He didn't wait.
I got a question on that.
You missed last week, Al, and he was like, man, I wish Al was here. You know how he was ready for it.
I heard him.
So.
And they're going to be the coordinator for the Jets, and I don't make no. Was that the Jets? The Giants.
The Giants. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll definitely get into that. Pooh will not be joining us tonight. Pooh is interviewing for the nighttime manager position at Food Line. So good luck to you, Pooh. We hope you get that shit. And steal some Doritos from me, sir.
I hope he give us the hookup.
Right. So overnight manager, man, Food Line's 24 hours with Pooh Lynn. That's dope. So we miss you, Pooh. We'll talk to you again next week. Good luck to you. Oh yeah, we got a good show for y'all tonight. So yeah, we a lot of things that are circling around the news circuit. We're gonna get into the Rooney Rule in the NFL and the lack of diversity amongst coaches and execs. We're gonna talk about. We got some listener questions. Definitely got some trivia, and we're gonna talk about some NFL playoffs and coaches hirings and firing. So let's get into this thing, man. How can I forget? We also supposedly have a special guest coming on. If they show up, they wanted to kind of chop it up with us and interview the Defy Life guys. So they're gonna turn the tables on us and interview us. So we'll hold that off and just tease you with it. But yeah, surprise guest is gonna show up hopefully. So let's get this thing started, man. So we're gonna jump straight into the listener questions first. No news tidbits this week. No house cleaning. I'm ready to get this thing started. So we're just going to get straight to the listener questions. We got two dope-ass questions. First one is from Doug in Greenville, South Carolina. Al, I'll start with you. Doug wants to know, do you feel it's inappropriate for black folks to be making jokes about potential war with Iran? Considering, we've already sent over 3,000 soldiers over there, but how black folks do. We got jokes about anything, man. You think it's inappropriate?
No, so I was hoping I wouldn't be first because I was like, maybe I could listen to find out what I'm missing in terms of how it might be inappropriate to be joking about we wouldn't be allowed to crack a joke on the war. I don't really see what's funny about the war.
Right.
Like that's a better question. Like just for Joker from Joker to Joker, I don't really get what we cracking jokes about. But if I could find something funny to say about the war, I'm not really sure if I would hesitate to say that shit unless I was in front of like a person who lost somebody to the war. Then all right, maybe I would show some respect or even a soldier. You know what I mean? I have a lot of respect for veterans and soldiers and people who serve our country. So,
right.
My respect might temper my desire to crack a funny, but other than that, I'm like, why we can't crack a joke?
Yeah,
black folks. Why? So the whole question, I don't really get it, honestly.
I'm
feel the same way?
Yeah, I'm 100% with him. I will say this though. On another note, I'm more bothered by what's going on now than I ever have been before. Like these kind of events bother me now. I was actually nervous when I was driving home when Iran struck back, and that's when I was texting y'all like, so I'm going to news station. I get my car, and everybody's talking about it. They're like giving the rundown, and they all and that shit bothers me more now than it did in the past. You know what I mean? I'm not even sure why. But as far
honestly, I mean, Jeff, I'll just say this: that the news media learned a long time ago that they can get a lot of viewership. Like it was one of those wars where they had people like actually out there in the war right, embedded. I think that was the war where our media was like, or the first time I noticed that.
But there was a time when they were there before the strike. I believe it was. I can't remember. It was in the 90s, and they had the fog lights. I remember that was a big story how they were out there with the lights and stuff when the soldiers were raiding somewhere in the Middle East. But when I was saying bothers me, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the fact that the country might be at war with the real step up of an opponent than they've been fighting for the last 19 years. Like Iran, that wouldn't be as easy as a walkthrough. You know what I mean? U.S. will win, but that was going to be a little bit more rougher, and who knows where it goes from there. And it just bothers me more. That part bothers me more than it ever. I didn't give a fuck about 9/11. I was doing, I didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And all that shit, but this one, I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting older and I'm paying more attention or what, but that's what I meant by bothers me.
Yeah.
But as whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. Might be part of the question is, eventually, the shit that we do as a country is going to catch up with us.
Yeah.
And so, be real. A lot of the young brothers is going over there are brothers. And,
man.
So, I can see where, soldiers got social media too. So, they see the jokes and, the people that they protect and making light of the situation. I can see where that may come across as kind of shady. But, I'll put it this way. Black folks have been through enough in this country where a lot of the times the only thing we have is jokes.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the structural power to change shit a lot of times.
Yeah.
So we make jokes about it because we know we're so separated from the decision making. So I get why people are joking, but I also get why this question was asked because, I get it. A lot of these dudes are going to war for the first time, and a lot of people's family members are going to war for the first time, possibly, or being, being put in that situation for the first time. So I get it. For some people, it's not a joking situation, but, this from my experience, and I'm sure we've all experienced it, sometimes that's all we got, man. It's all we got is jokes. So, Doug, I hope you understand.
Like I said, I gotta admit, I don't see what would be funny, right? But I do stand up for the right, for black folk to have the right to tell a joke.
Right.
But that being said, to all of y'all point, to war is very serious. And whether it's straight out war, whether it's terrorism, how this could play out is something we should never make light of in terms of it having some negative consequences. But I disagree with what you say, Key. I really think it would be an unfair fight. I don't think it would. I think it'd be more like Iraq, a real quick. It would be sustained like Iraq. If we were to really attack them and it got into it, we would have to put soldiers over there to maintain the victory, so to speak. But I don't think it'd be a fair fight. I think it'd be a
no. There's how big Iran is? They have way more. They're triple the size of soldiers. They got this not Iraq, man. This will be if Iran was so weak, then Russia would have beat them. They there for a reason. This ain't no. This the conference championships.
And Iran has allies that are pretty formidable.
Yeah. I get that. It would probably spin into a world or us against them battle. I agree.
It would be think do a little history. You never win that. You fight. You see how look. Iraq is over quick. Dudes, 19 years later, they still fighting.
Over quick. Yeah, I guess I don't think. I think it would be a sustained engagement.
Yes,
but I think our firepower at this stage of with technology, with drones, with our missile system, I just think quicker. And they would be like, all right, we cool. And now, not to say that it would die out, but I think they would be like, all right, from a national perspective, nation to nation, I think the government would be like, y'all got that. We ain't fucking with you no more. We ain't trying to escalate. I think people know in our country who has the real weapons.
Yeah, and that's the last thing that Iran has said, that they're not going to esclet it. But that could be a ploy, so we don't know until they get the technology.
I know you want to wrap it up, but let me say this: I'm a big Bernie Sanders supporter. So I'm with the college and the healthcare thing, and the only beef I got, not only beef, I got many, but I feel something you said about being powerless. This is how I totally feel out there when it's talk about, say, free college, or not free, but I know where it's coming from, tax dollars and whatnot. It's cost too much, but then you spend trillions to go fight and won't even ask. That question never come up. So it's just that powerlessness I feel, and then watching these factions move from the media, how they become the cheerleaders. He's so wrong until maybe an American gets killed, and we got to get him now. It's all messed up, man. And while we sit here and can't really do nothing about it,
Right.
yeah. So not to go on and on and on, but that's kind of where I was coming from about the way I felt about it.
Right.
Yeah.
It does rub me the wrong way because at the end of the day, I believe lives are being lost.
Yes, man.
Over people's economic interest.
Exactly.
Like it's all tied to dollars.
Exactly.
And that's why people are losing lives.
Exactly. So if Dave Chappelle could come along and make a joke about it, I'll feel good about it, I guess.
You know he will.
It's all we got.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for the question, Doug. As always, we appreciate the questions. We actually have a second listener question. We'll be right back with. But
why do the Cowboys suck? Was that or did I got the wrong email?
You got the wrong email.
Yeah, you got the wrong email. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna hit you back on that one.
Somebody done jumbled your show topics.
My bad.
I'm gonna treat you like America treats Iran, and I'm just gonna leave you alone right now. Let you go calm down in the corner.
All right.
Oh man, we'll be right back with this second listener question, and we're gonna take a break. We'll be right back with you.
Welcome to the Anything, Everything, and Nothing podcast with Lynn and Kim. Join us as we discuss the latest in everything from entertainment and current events to the craziness that is our real life.
Let's laugh, let's live, let's talk about it. New episode every Tuesday on the Defy Life Podcast Network. And remember, if you're not defying life, then what are you doing? Lynn and Kim.
Welcome back to episode 139 of the Defy Life Podcast. We left off, we were discussing first listener question. We're going to jump into the second listener question. We had to handle some stuff while we were on break, so Keon had to step out. So it's just me and Al remaining. Keon and Pooh, I think they had a middleweight tag team match tonight, so I think Keon had to go meet up with Pooh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the defending Intercontinental Champions.
Doing that tag team wrestling shit again.
Right.
That's
yeah. So
get your hustle on. I ain't mad at
yeah,
you.
right. So I don't even know if they got masks big enough to fit them niggas' heads, but we'll see. So Al, our second question is from Shavon in Miami, Florida. Shout out to Miami.
Yeah.
And this is
just came back from Miami a month ago.
Oh, word. Well, I'm glad you're still around to answer this one, because when I saw this question, I was like, yeah, we got to talk about this. So Shavon wants to know, do you think college is a necessity for success? And what would you do or say if your child told you they didn't want to go to college?
Yeah, I love this question. Definitely college, success after high school is a personal passion, something I really have spent a lot of time, a lot of days of my life in the last 15 years, particularly on this topic. I spoke to families, like hundreds of people talking about this is why kids need to do something after high school. Mm-hmm. But whenever I am up there giving these talks, one of the things I always say, is that, as far as I'm concerned, college is not the only way you can be successful in this society. I know that to be true. But in my opinion, it's the easiest way to be successful in this society. And if, as I advise kids, not even kids, people, in terms of how are you trying to achieve success, to me, education, and I say college, to me, when I think college, I don't just think 4-year college. So for me, when I'm talking college, I'm talking tech school, I'm talking getting certificates, just education.
Right.
When I think college, to me, why it's the easiest way is because it provides you options and opportunities, right? So I'm a data guy. I know that the data averages and the law of averages that it says people with more education tend to make more money. It says when there are recessions, that people who have more education, they're the last people to get fired, and they're also the first people to get rehired, right? So that's what the data tells me. So when I'm talking to kids, I'm talking to parents, I'm telling them, to me, this is why education is a good route. But that being said, to this question, is it a necessity for success? My answer would be no. It's not a necessity.
Right.
That I know people who have no college and have still been leading very successful lives. So to the second part, if my child was to come and say they didn't want to go to college, it's their life, it's their choice. But as a parent, I like to, inform my children as they try to make these choices in life. I would ask why and what's your plan, and how are you going to live an independent, self-reliant life? Because, don't plan on, living off of me all your life, not just because I'm kicking you out, but because that's one, it's not a good plan because I'm not going to be around here forever. But two, I was raised to, at the end of the day, you want your kids to eat off their own pile. Like, they're not here to eat off of me.
Right.
They're here to work and take care of themselves, and then they build their own family and take care of who they got. So I would just, my child came to me and said, I want to go to college. I'd be like, all right, well, what's your plan? Because I raised my kids with an understanding that at whatever point they decided they were not going to be in, pursuing their education, then you got 6 months to get out or start paying rent. As long as you are pursuing your education, I commit to support you. At whatever point you decide that, nah, I want to work, that's cool. I'm all about work. I'm all about getting that grind on. You got 6 months. Find your own shit.
Right.
That's why since they were kids, that's what I'm drilling into their head. So, and I know culturally and everybody's household and how they see it, and I get it. And I've had, over the years, I've definitely even thought, maybe I would let them stay a little longer than 6 months, because I've kind of softened on that a little bit, just because I've been exposed to other reasons why you might want to have your child stay in the home a little longer. And so I get inside of it too. But I'm just saying, as I've raised my kids are young adults, 20 and 22 years ago, my attitude was, nah.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's a damn good question. And I think this question is like the microcosm of never say what you never do. Because I think, especially in our communities, I think black folks, it's been ingrained in us that, and I've always had an issue with this, is I had to struggle, you need to go struggle too. And I think that limits us from things like generational wealth and being able to, set our kids up for success. And so, like, a lot of me is the same way as you are. I think the older I get, my kids are younger, of course. So, it's time for me, like I'm in that time of reflection and maybe transitioning to other ways of seeing things. I don't know. If my kids say they don't want to go to college, I tell my kids they don't have to go if it's not for them, because I went and I shouldn't have went. Because if I had to do over, I'll say I went for the wrong reasons. Because everybody I know, my sisters, my cousin, everybody I know went to college. I didn't look at any other options. So if my kids came to me and said, I don't want to go to college, that's the first thing I would ask, like you, what's your plan? And I'd hear that plan out. Now, this question has been asked to me before, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So if your kid came and you say they don't want to go to college, but they have a business plan or they have a legit skill that could be lucrative and support them, would you be willing to invest their college funds into that skill or business?
Assuming it was a good business idea, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, I'm a business developer. I'm someone who I believe that's one of my gifts, is this idea that I either can conceive the niche in business ideas as well as can listen to one and help people develop it. So assuming I'm definitely one who is like, in whether it was a colleague, business person, or my child, if it's a good business idea, I'm definitely down with helping them be successful. And to be honest, if I had, and again, I've always raised my children, live your life, be where you want to be, and follow your own dreams. But I think, honestly, my ideal path for my children would be successful entrepreneurs. Because I just think that's just but that's my life, you know what I mean? Like, that's that's me informing that. And they definitely chose their own path, educator, one, and the other is trying to be a healthcare in the healthcare field. So I applaud them for
she will be in the healthcare field.
Oh yeah, definitely. I applaud them for stepping there in their own path. That's how they should be, which is how I raised them. But so I would invest in them. And honestly, I even tried to sell some of them on a business idea. About this, what do y'all think about this? And maybe I would want to do this, but at the end of the day, I'm selling them on some of my business ideas as opposed to what I feel is really how it should work, is someone following their own dream.
Right. Yeah. And I try to make it a point with my kids, since I do tell them that, like I don't push my kids like, you either go to college or you're gonna be nothing. Like, I don't push that narrative on them, because I think a lot of us do, say, well, if you don't go to college, you're gonna be flipping burgers for the rest of your life. Like, I don't like to instill that, because it's such a zero-sum game to me.
Right.
So, but I do think also with that, if I'm telling them and I'm instilling in them that, hey, there are other options, I have to open up their eyes to see that stuff. They're kids. They're not going to know where to look if I don't tell them, or if somebody doesn't tell them. So, they have to do a new business plan once a year, and present it to me. So I take time to teach them about financial literacy and to keep them abreast of how money works and how to start a business and, how to apply for college and what kind of different colleges there are out there. So just to give them that overall spectrum of what your opportunities are, other than just telling them, well, you ain't got to go to college. Because then when it's time to go to college, they're going to be like, well, shit, what are the other options? So, and thankfully I have like naturally curious kids anyway, where they're always asking questions and asking why I said this and what does that mean. So that's a good thing that they're like thirsty for like just knowledge. But yeah, I think we have as a society have kind of fallen into that trap of like like indoctrinating kids and telling them you got to get a degree or you're going to be a failure. And I think we got to get away from that because, shit, I ain't gonna say I wasted, but I could have done so many things earlier in my life if I had known there were other options.
Yeah, I think there's been I think historically for Black folks, we come out of a tradition where the jobs that were available to us were preachers and teachers. So you have a lot of educators in our community.
Right.
And then I think there was also in the 70s and 80s and 90s and so on, this push of that we need to get more Black kids into college. And because that was the path to success. And you had the Cosby Show and all of that. And, so it did have an influence on us as a culture. And I wish, to your point, that I was exposed to entrepreneurs as a teenager, which is, I think, where the bug came for me. But I think I had been exposed to more best practices
Right.
of entrepreneurs. So I would know how to do it right as well.
Right.
So I think that would have helped me eliminate some heartaches and pains, and then also to have people give me the realistic expectation that as an entrepreneur, there's going to be a lot of failures, and that's okay.
Right.
As opposed to, oops, it didn't work, so might as well go get a job now.
Right.
That would have been, and as I've grown and seen that, I failed a lot as a businessman, and then had a lot of success. But more importantly, learned that is the common experience, even of the most successful entrepreneurs.
Right.
Fail. And I wish I had learned that message early on, so that it would not have caused me to give up for period of time in life.
Yeah, and it's like the thing that, like, school teaches us that, though. School teaches us that failure is an end. And I'm saying, like, grade school, like, as a kid, like, we're taught that you fail, that's the end of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, you failed, you got to do this, you got to, like, you can't retake this test. There's nothing you can do. And we're taught that failure is the worst thing possible.
Don called me tonight and asked me, what does fail mean to you? And I was like, damn, that's a loaded question, Don. Like,
right.
I mean, like, really? Like, how you want me to answer that? He's like, I'm just asking again, what does fail mean to you? And I was like, so I'm just going to be literal, not meeting the minimum standards of an objective. I guess that's failing. He was like, well, how about first attempt in learning? That's fail. And I was like, oh, see, that's what I mean. It was a loaded question. I could have went there.
Right.
But I was like, but to his point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that and share it with the kids I'm coaching tonight. Because, again, to his point, we don't hear that message that when we fail, it's okay. Just learn from it.
All right.
Just learn from it. And now try to do better the next time.
Right. Yeah. And, with my boys, I always try to tell them, again, like, you learn from it. And don't be afraid to speak about it, your failures. And to me, failures are no different than goals. They don't become real until you talk about it and you write it down. And so when you fail at something and you keep it to yourself to try to hide it and run from the embarrassment of failure, it doesn't become real. You can't apply it to life until you put it out there. Same thing with your goals. And so, and also I teach them within that failure. I don't ever want them to feel like, I'd rather my kids feel like, oh shit, I failed, I fucked up, I got to call my dad, versus them saying, shit, I failed, I fucked up, I don't want to call I can't tell my dad. Right. So, to always, even when they're grown, that I'm always here and available to be a mentor, because failure happens. You're going to fuck up. I'm never expecting perfection. Just effort.
Right.
So.
And you know what? For some reason, I think I would say growing up, when I experienced failure, I also experienced shame.
Right.
But to your point, when you just said that, as a parent, what you really wanted was effort, I think, no, I was going to say, that's what my parents wanted, but no, my father wanted A's. He didn't want failure.
Yeah.
No, effort wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You needed to do well. Yeah, failure was not acceptable.
Right.
And like where I'm at as a person is, it's not failure isn't acceptable. Quitting isn't acceptable.
Right.
So effort is necessary. But failure, I understand.
Yeah.
I can't. I can work with that.
All right. And, especially like having multiple kids teaches you that as a parent, because you get to see different strokes of genius in different people. Even though they raised in the same household, got the same parents, you get to look at your kids as they're different strokes of genius. When one kid fails at something, like your level of expectation and your level of judgment you have to adjust based on the child. Because I know there are certain things. My oldest one, if he fails at something, I'm really looking at him like, you just didn't try, because I know you can do this. Versus my youngest one, I'm like, yeah, you ain't so good at that. I get it, and vice versa. So, being a parent and being able to directly look at your offspring and say, and be able to judge, effort versus, or can't versus won't.
I think that's one of the. I think it's such a hard call as parents. Can't versus won't.
Yeah.
What can't versus won't. And because I'm someone who the can't box is real small. Mm-hmm. I just have such optimism in the potential of people that, I'm not going to say necessarily because you didn't try, but I'm also going to be like, but we can, you can do it. So you might not have been able to do it this time.
Or that way.
Right.
But
I'm always trying to remind people that, you can. And you didn't, but you can.
Right.
And let's figure out how we can get you to accomplish, what you needed to accomplish.
Right.
But to me, quitting, oh man, man, you want to see me lose my wig in public? Quit,
man.
quit.
Right. Yeah, and no, absolutely not. And it's like. Kids, especially when they're younger, that's their go-to. I can't. That's their first thing they're gonna say. Just because it's very simple to say and it's easy to get there. And they don't have the life experience and all that to get to work stuff out a lot of times. So as a parent, it's your job to guide them through it.
There's a lot of parents who accept that.
Right. Exactly.
I can't. Oh yeah, you know what? You all right? You can't tie your shoes. Well, you won't, and it's after your life experience, many of these parents have not had a lot of success and been able to overcome things in life to where, so they've accepted it in their own minds, like, well, you know what, I can't do it either, so you're right, you can't do it.
Right, and there's as parents, a lot of parents, are so quick to say, when their child says I can't, we go to one of two extremes. You can't, okay, well, I'll save you. I'm not gonna let you figure this out on your own. I'm gonna step in and save you, because as a parent, a lot of times it is hard to watch your kids fail. But a lot of times it's worth it to watch them figure it out. I always make sure, so when my kids say I can't, I was like, there's a difference in, you can't, don't say you can't. Did you ask for help? Don't say I can't tie my shoe. Like, can you help me tie my shoe? It's the language you put around it. Because it's easy to get the I can't, because you don't have to go to all these other options,
versus, to me, will is a skill.
Right.
And, I have this conversation with my mother-in-law a lot. She is in her 80s, and she's a believer that people are born with good or bad will. Some people got a strong will, some people don't. And I'm like, nah, I think we all have the potential to have a strong will.
Absolutely.
But it has to be nurtured and developed.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who it's not there, it's because it hasn't been nurtured and developed. But I just, and I'm not going to say everybody, but I'm just a big believer in the human will.
Yes. Yeah, and what circumstances and situations can do to sharpen that will.
Correct.
Correct. I was, separated from my family for over a year. And it's funny, I was just talking to Junior about this. Situations like that teaches you how much you can endure. But it's situations and circumstances and throughout life, and especially as they become over longer periods of time, it teaches you and it shows you how much you can deal with and how much you can go without.
And so what you want is then, as you come across that next challenge, hopefully you or someone in your life can help you see that, you know what? The same way you overcame that, you can overcome the next thing.
Right.
And I think that's what is called grit and resilience.
Right.
Is the idea that, you know what, tough it out. And your sister says, I just love this thing, that you got to go through it to get through it, right?
Right.
Go through it to get through it.
Yep.
And, first time she said that to me, I was going through it. And I was like, wow, you're right. But if I keep going through it, though, at some point, I'm going to get it.
Right. Yep. And that doesn't mean, just letting shit happen to you. That means, like you said, that means grit and resilience. And that means being active within that going through it. But it's I'm with you. It's a skill. So
tenacity.
Right. But Shavon, damn good question. Anytime we end up on a completely different conversation 30 minutes later on your question, it's a damn good question. So shout out to you, Shavon. Again, y'all keep sending these questions, man. We have fun with these. Hit us up at email us at info@godefylife.com, or hit us up with a comment on social media at godefylife on all platforms. So we're gonna jump into some NFL talk really quickly. Want to get your thoughts on first question for you, Al. Is the Patriots dynasty over finally?
I think so. I really do. And the uncertainty of it all, I do think Brady comes back. But unless they are able to improve their offense significantly to where another year or two they might be able to continue it, I think this is really it. I really do. I don't foresee that great offense firepower coming, and while they have some young talent there, I don't think it's going to blossom enough for Brady, fast enough for Brady. And this time I think it's over, and especially because I think also you have two young quarterbacks in AFC East, in Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, that I think are just going to be the quarterbacks of the AFC East in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they've been able to. I think that's a big part of the Patriots dynasty, is that the other three teams in their division, they can kind of count on 6 wins every year.
Yep. At least 4.
Right. That's for the most part. Like every few years, one of those teams will popcorn up once every now and then and become a challenge to them. But yeah, it's easy, like you said, at least 4 wins a year you can count on. And that's a big part of getting to the playoffs. And like you always say, you can't win it if you ain't in it. So
that would be a good data point to look at over Tom Brady's career what's been the average number of wins in the division for the Patriots.
That would
because
be
I would bet it's over 4 and probably close to 5
right.
in terms of average.
Gotta be,
which is amazing.
Right. Because I think in their 20-year run, it's been a 20-year run for them. I think over that 20 years, there's only been twice where they haven't won the division.
Wow,
how crazy is that? So I think that speaks to itself of just how much dominance and how much stability at quarterback means.
And quarterback.
Right.
And coaching.
And coaching. But if you look at the Patriots run, and I agree with you, I think it's finally over. But they've essentially had 2 different dynasties over the last 20 years. And you look at the first dynasty was, of course Brady was still there, but you had the Willie McGinnis and the Ty Laws and the Troy Browns and the Corey Dillons, like that set, and and then in coaching you had Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel. You had that group, and then in the second half of the dynasty, it was kind of reborn with the Josh McDaniels and the Rob Gronkowskis and the Julian Edelmans, like that group. So I think for me, like over time for them, it's just like they beat me into submission. Like the first dynasty kind of fell off, and I was just like, yeah, it's finally over. And then they taught us wrong. And then it's like another 10 years of this, and I'm just like, they beat me into submission, man. I just give up. I never bet against them.
Yeah,
but now
that's the amazing part.
Right.
As you hear people, that statement, nah, don't bet against Brady.
Right.
No, I don't bet against Patriots.
Exactly. Like even when like it happens every year, they lose to the Chiefs by 20, and everybody's writing them off in week 4, and then they win the Super Bowl. So they just beating us all into. They beat me into submission. When I just like, you know what? I ain't even put my energy into saying they done because I wasted my time. But you're right. I think this time just feels different. Like in previous years, like, they make it to the AFC Championship and lose, and we say, yeah, it's over. But they still in the AFC Championship. Like for them not to not have a home game to not have a bye week in the playoffs, and then 2, to not even win a playoff game. So I think that's a big thing. And then, honestly speaking, like there was a point in time where we didn't have to say, man, they need to give Brady some help. We were always saying Brady makes everybody better. So I think he is a declining player, and at 42 years old, he's not going to get better at this point.
And it was a weird type of year for the Patriots I think Gronk not coming back. You talk about the Antonio Brown,
right?
Josh Gordon, so things that they tried in other years, these moves would have paid off.
True.
And this year, they didn't. And to me, like, that's a sign that, and, like you said, there's been off years in the past, but something, and maybe it's his age, maybe it's Belichick's age, in terms of not just his age, but has he been there, long enough to where maybe he's peaking somewhere else or feels like his run is over.
Yeah, or, the longer you do something, the more things you let slip a lot of times. So, maybe
or
his grasp is
the
not as tight.
coaching.
Right.
Every year he's losing quality coaches so that has to at some point.
Yeah.
At some point. that has to hurt.
True. So I'm with you. Hopefully this time, and this is just me, and I'm sure you agree, but hopefully we are correct this time.
Hopefully. I have never seen so many Patriot haters,
man,
like to celebrate their loss, as well as Saints. Like,
oh yeah, all right.
There's a lot of people I know who were happy to see both those teams gone.
Yeah, and
maybe
that's what I was about to say. In Atlanta, you're gonna get a lot of the Saints hate. Yeah, I don't know. So he's gonna put it out there, man. Percentage wise, if you put a percentage on, how 50% and above, you're happy. 49% and below, you're unhappy. What would your percentage be around the firing of Jason Garrett?
I would say I am honestly, I would say I'm 90% happy.
Okay.
Only because, and again, I say that as someone who has consistently been a Jason Garrett supporter, because like Jerry Jones, I think he's a really, really good person.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a good coach. But at the end of the day, why I'm 90% happy is after almost a decade, I have to acknowledge that regardless of the record, the circumstances, you didn't get us to that next level.
Right.
And so I'm ready for a new voice. I'm ready for something different. And especially, I've never been with the Cowboys a proponent of different without it being a path that I could see improvement on. Like, let's just fire him just to fire him. I think he's a good enough coach to where, unless you give me a better alternative, keep him. But when you talk about now we bringing in Mike McCarthy, like to me, where we are as a franchise, what I experienced last year, I really like the hire. And because to me, I was glad that it was a veteran, experienced coach who's done it and has done it with veteran, experienced coordinators and assistant coaches. And that was one of the flaws that I saw in our season last year. Not all of the flaws, but to me, I think we were out-coached, but not necessarily from a head coach perspective, from a coaching unit perspective. And with a young offensive coordinator and a young defensive coordinator, there were games and decisions that were made that while Jason Garrett could have overruled during the season, I don't think that's how the system worked. And while he could have stepped in, I don't think he did, or maybe he should have. Maybe that's what he should have done. But I just look at that as something that with some more experienced coaches, I think we could have won 3-4 of those games. I just believe that. And so I like a different approach especially where I think, that was one of the problems. So, so 90%, that's where I am in terms of happy that he's no longer our coach.
Okay.
But I also have I appreciate the respect and tact that they handled which is very, very different. And the Cowboys are a very, very different organization.
Right.
The way they let the man go, though, I feel like that's how you let go somebody who you believe is family. You do it on your own time.
Right.
I ain't got to kick you out when I want to kick you out. Do you family? I ain't got to.
Yeah. And you don't do it publicly.
Right. I'm down with that.
Respect that.
I like that was right. It's like he deserves that. Not because he doesn't deserve it because he was a Super Bowl coach. He didn't do that. No, he deserved that for what he contributed to this organization. I read somewhere Jerry Jones was like, out of the 30 years he's owned the Cowboys, only 2 of those years has he not signed a check to someone from the Garrett family, whether it was his father, Jason, or some other relatives who worked in the organization.
All right.
When I read that, I was like,
wow, dang,
the Garretts are
they're like
cousins
Cowboy
to the
royalty, exactly. Shit.
Wow. They've contributed significantly to this organization. Of course you don't just tell that dude to beat it.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now apparently he'll be working for your NFC East rival, New York Giants.
Yeah, I thought that would be interesting.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that would be that's like kind of deja vu all over again because when he left the Cowboys as a player, he went to the Giants.
Right.
And again, one of the reasons Jerry Jones liked him initially was because his play calling and his vision of offense.
Right.
That's how he got the original job. So I'm not surprised. And it might be more to his strength actually.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's really good at. Some coaches ain't coordinators. I mean, some coordinators ain't real good, ain't great head coaches.
Yeah. Okay. North Turner.
Mm-hmm. Another one.
All right. Yeah, and hired by the New York Giants, Jason Garrett was by Judge Joe Brown, Joe Judge. All right, so
Joe Brown, that's hilarious.
So like
Judge Judy,
Judge Judy. So Joe Judge was.
I've heard New York say they'd rather have this.
Oh shit! Like, but I think this speaks volumes as far as like our next topic, right? Joe Judge was hired by the New York Giants as their head coach after being the wide receivers coach for the New England Patriots. Never being a coordinator, never calling plays, none of that. Never even, being a passing game coordinator. Have teams found a way to make the Rooney Rule bullshit? And
good. Finish your question.
Well, simply because Joe Judge is just one person of many, who people feel that is not deserving of a head coaching job in the NFL. There's a lot of people and a lot of black men that were passed over who are well deserving and have put in their time and who didn't even get interviews. You think of the Leslie Frazier's, the Eric Bieniemys, if Mike McCarthy's getting a job, people feel like Marvin Lewis is just as deserving of another opportunity. Jim Caldwell, guys like that who black coaches don't tend to get opportunity to be retreads like a lot of their white counterparts do. So in that, do you feel like teams have kind of found a way to circumvent the Rooney Rule and just make it a formality?
Well, I don't think found out. I think just found out is the right way to characterize it.
Right.
I think since the existence of the Rooney Rule, owners who didn't really, want to hire a black person but wanted to follow the Rooney Rule, would found that, I could just bring somebody in, interview them, and I have complied with this rule. So I think it's not just some new phenomenon is my point.
All right.
But I think, though, that being said, I also acknowledge that every instance is different. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say with the Giants situation and the Cowboys situation if that was the case. Because for example, with the Cowboys, they interviewed two people. Marvin Lewis first, then McCarthy. Marvin Lewis had 2 days to sit there and talk, and that to me was significant. That's not, if you just gonna blow somebody off, if you really just doing this to get around the Rooney Rule, would you really have somebody around for 2 days? And that the fact that your ultimate hire was similar in type of coach, in the sense of a veteran, someone who's done that, but someone who's actually really done that, who's won. So like I'm while I've heard people say, "Oh, this, you hired Mike McCarthy, Marvin Lewis ultimately was just a sham." I'm like, I ain't gonna say that. And in this case, with the Giants, it was apparent that they wanted a certain type of coach, right? I mean, and I'm not even gonna say that because they interviewed different types of coaches, so it ain't even like they had a type of coach going into it. But apparently, they said this guy blew them away. I don't know. I will see how qualified this guy really is, because in the past you've had, coaches from all types of, like, I think John Madden wasn't necessarily offensive coordinator. I can't remember like what his history was. But I mean, my point is, to be a head coach sometimes there's all different types of paths to get there. But at the end of the day, I think the real outcome, or that we should pay attention to, is the quality of the coaching and the results of the team. And the teams that are circumventing the rule, or not trying to get the best coaches beyond, regardless of race, suffer. And that's why you see these teams that, are just reaching for straws and bringing in anybody and letting some high quality coaches sit on the sidelines, and they don't tend to win. So I'm not sure the Giants have never had a black coach, head coach, and neither have the Cowboys. So I think it's legitimate concern, a legitimate question. But I think the best question, where I always bring it back to, is, and I feel like we're taking the okie doke when you start talking about the coaches and missing it, is ownership. Here's where's that same energy about, trying to get minority coaches, black coaches, where in terms of trying to get minority and black owners into the NFL. And because I think that's when you will really see the difference, because I think you got a league of white men hiring a lot of white men. The owners are hiring a lot of white men. Right. And just, if we were owners, we would probably hire a lot of black folk.
Right.
Like,
yeah, and because people tend to hire people who they're familiar with, and sometimes friends or friends and family. Like, so I think that's like amongst head coaching ranks. I think that's where the biggest issue for me lies. Is, as I said before, black coaches don't tend to get an opportunity to get a second chance.
Nope.
So you'll see, retreads of white coaches. They 60 years old and they done been head coaches of 3 different teams and failed at all of them. Black coaches usually tend to get that one chance, and I think we can count on 2 fingers of the black coaches who've gotten an opportunity in another city, and it just happened to be from the same place as Tony Dungy and Jim Caldwell.
Yeah. But I mean, that's why I found the criticism of, even like when Marvin Lewis was suggested as a candidate, even before he was brought in as a hire, people were clowning the Cowboys for even consider, like, Marvin Lewis.
Right.
I'm like, damn, he was a great defensive coordinator.
Right. And he if you think about, relatively speaking, bad
head coach.
Yeah, so right.
He took some talented and some not so talented team to the playoffs.
Right.
Why should he get an interview? Like,
he changed the culture and the expectation of the Bengals used to be like the laughing stock of the league.
Yeah.
So the fact that he is judged for not getting them to the playoffs so many times and not winning a playoff game speaks volumes to where he brought that franchise from.
True indeed.
So Marvin Lewis is no slouch. And I agree. Just on on this case basis, I don't think the Cowboys looked at Marvin Lewis as a formality. I think the biggest sham is that he wasn't given more opportunities to interview.
Yeah, correct. That's the point. You wonder,
right. Exactly.
How does he not get an interview with Cleveland?
Yeah.
How does he get an interview with the Giants? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and and you mentioned Cleveland, so apparently Cleveland's waiting on Josh McDaniels. Can you imagine if a black coach who had failed at one head coaching opportunity already got hired at another and basically ghosted him and left him at the altar after accepting the job? He'd never get another opportunity again.
Correct. As well as the other thing about a black coach and comparing it to Josh McDaniels didn't have all that great of a season in terms of the Patriots' offense.
Absolutely, right.
So if he was a black dude, chances are he would be an afterthought this year. It would be, he had his run. He walked away from that job. His team didn't do that well. And he's going to have to prove it somewhere else, continue it as an offensive coordinator. He's going to have a good year before he gets a head coaching gig.
Right. That's what happened to Chris Rashad. He was,
correct.
He was a hot
He was the hot dude.
Right. And then had a bad year. Same thing with Leslie Frazier. His team had a bad year in Buffalo or Minnesota, whatever he was last, and he had to go back to the coordinating ranks and rebuild his reputation. It's happened time and time again that's how it works for black coaches. Ray Sherman back in the day, it happened too.
The Jets coach,
Herm Edwards.
No, not Herm. The more recent one, the guy that Todd Bowles.
Oh, Todd Bowles, right? Exactly.
I thought he was a real good coach.
Yeah, I thought Todd Bowles was a good coach. But it's just it's so difficult for them to get those second opportunities because if you look at it, most coaches fail in their first go round. That's why so many coaches. We have an average of 7 head coach openings every year in the NFL. So, that's a little, it's like a fourth of the league.
The NFL is in America.
Right.
And, I laugh, not laugh, but, when I hear people, the NFL, oh no, they're on the up and up. Of course, everything's on the up. They got the Rooney Rule, right? Idea that you would even suggest that black coaches are getting shafted because the Rooney Rule exists. They're like, no, the NFL is bigger and better than that.
Right.
Stop. And the NFL is in America, therefore, with all that we are dealing with race, of course, black coaches, to me, from my perspective, get the short end of the stick, just like in every other instance in this country. It's just the way, how this country works right now.
And you have people to go far enough to say that the Rooney Rule itself is racist. Like those are the nuts that I don't even have conversation with. But it just amazes me how far behind, in this regard, how far behind the NFL is than the NBA. Because the NBA is great about promoting progression of their former players, who most of them are black, and and grooming them for executive positions, and having actual programs to lead former players or into ownership. And it just amazes me that how far the NBA is ahead of the curve than the NFL.
And baseball too has been in the sense of definitely head coaches.
Yeah.
Has for years, decades, been able to bring a black man in and allow him to lead a team. Yes, the NFL has a long way to go.
All right. Yeah. And I think it's easy, of course, Eric Bieniemy is the name that keeps coming up because he's the latest one. But, it's a shame that he's not among, he's not the finalist for more opportunities, especially every year. Andy Reid has to keep like promoting his name. It's those things, and it's a damn shame for a league that's comprised of 80% black players. There's only 3 black head coaches, and there's never been a black owner, and there's only been one black director of football operations. And now I think are there any black GMs in the league now?
Is Ozzy still around?
Ozzy retired.
The Giants, they fired theirs for Gettleman.
Yep, Gettleman. Yeah. Shit.
I don't think so.
It's ridiculous, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the NFL is a microcosm of America in certain regards, and like you said, it is corporate America. That's how it works. So, but we would not stop screaming in the echo chambers of shit we see that's not right. And like I don't know if you saw Bomani Jones on ESPN today. And he was like, the biggest part of this is that we discuss shit like this, is we always worried about hurting white people's feelings. And until we get to a point where we not, like, our first and foremost point is not to hurt their feelings, we never going to get past this shit, because we never going to do what needs to be done or say what needs to be said, because stuff like this requires hurt feelings.
So I just Googled it. It looks like there's one black GM in the NFL, and oh man, my shit just went blank. The Dolphins, Chris Greer.
Oh, Chris Greer. Okay, yeah. Wow, and they also have one of the 3 black head coaches. So,
yep.
Yeah. So, it's a melanin city up in Miami. That's right now.
All right.
Well, we are not going to do trivia this week because it's going to be hard for you to beat yourself.
Oh, man, I could find a way.
You could. So you'll just be the de facto winner. But Keon, Pooh, I hope everything's all right. I hope y'all won that tag team championship so y'all can flaunt your belts all week. But yeah, man, that's gonna be it. We are, hope y'all enjoy the interview we did with Simba, which we're gonna attach to this episode. We had the opportunity to be interviewed by Simba Jackson on the Diagnosis Best Man podcast. Had a ball. It was fun. Simba, thank you so much. It was an honor to be your guest on your show, man. That was so dope. So, but that's all we got, man. What's your parting shot for the week?
Man, all I want to say is Happy New Year. Enjoy life, defy life, and shout out to those in Puerto Rico as they've experienced a few earthquakes this week. So, for all my Puerto Rican folk and their family, pray that everybody is safe and power is restored. I actually have a friend who's over there in business right now, so hope he returns home safe. But that's my part. Shout out, peace and love, and definitely see y'all next week.
No doubt. Yeah, definitely. Shout out, all strength and prayers out to everybody in Puerto Rico. My wife is just over there for her grandmother's funeral, so all of our prayers are with her family and all the families in Puerto Rico. So I ain't got nothing crazy, man. My parting shot is a check-in with you, man. How is I know it's time for you. Your coaching, your season is getting ramped up. How things looking?
So definitely this weekend will be the beginning of our season. So looking forward to, again, I'm coaching 2 teams, a 14 and under team, an 18 and under team. My 14 and under team looks kind of raw, which is how it typically is with my 14 and under team, because oftentimes these are kids I've never seen before. So in terms of how I coach, who I am, what I expect, is definitely a growing with them. But hopefully those players stay with me and then ultimately get on my 18 and under team, and which I get to where I'm at right now with my 18 and under team, which is I have a collection of guys that most of them I've coached before. We understand each other. They understand what I expect, my system, the press, just all of it. And we are, I would definitely say, the strongest team in our division in the 18 and under team. So like I'm explaining to them, and this is an ill spot to be in as a coach, to where, you know, we are basically playing against ourselves, in the sense of the trick here is we're competing against ourselves. Like don't get caught up in how good you are in terms of, or how better you are, and should you work hard or not, to, you know, like, you know, that saying of what is it? Effort beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we might be more talented than them, but my goal here is to make sure that y'all play hard every game. And if we do that, we gonna be great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I can get them to play together, play hard, I think we'll have some good results at the end of the season. And you know, we scrimmaged somebody tonight, and it's ill to where the coach comes up to you and he's like, "Yo, just thank you, man. I just appreciate y'all taking the time to whoop up on us tonight." And y'all looked strong. I just, like, almost to the point, like, he was like he recognizes that this was more for him than for us. He got more out of it than we got out of it.
Wow.
And so I've been that coach. You know what I mean? I've been that coach where it's just like, dang, they destroyed us, but you know what? That was real good for my team. They learned what it should look like out there. And so to hear that from the other coach had me like, yeah. And so looking forward to it. But at the same time, you know, you
All right.
Y'all give me a check real quick.
Yo.
Yo.
Yeah,
Check.
yeah,
1,
yeah.
2, 3.
This Al, check 1, check 2, check 1, check 2.
Yeah. You hear me?
And then, is it a way that I can send you this, and then you can like piece it together so it doesn't sound like we're on the phone?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm starting up right now.
All right.
I appreciate this, y'all.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate
Oh,
you.
yeah. Yep.
Best Man Pod, it's your man Simba Rawr back in this thing one more time, man. And today, I have a special guest. Oh, no, actually, I have multiple special guests. Man, you listen to the diagnosis, you know all I have is special guests. They ain't no different. Today, man, I have somebody who, really, without them, you probably wouldn't even hear me. You probably wouldn't even know who I was. So I have some gentlemen on this phone today that elevated me to a place where I thought I should be, and I'm still growing. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm talking to these brothers who is giving a voice to our community. These brothers are making sure that our community has representation, all types in all states. Like you just said, it's 4 different people on the phone from 3 different states. we got the United States on lock. I want to introduce y'all today to the founders of the Defy Life Podcast Network. What's going on, y'all?
Yo, what's good, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, man?
Thanks for having us, Simba, man. It's an honor.
Appreciate you.
No doubt.
So, real quick, so everybody can get your voice, my millions of listeners can listen to hear your voice. You know, go one by one and say who you are, what your title is for Defy Life.
All right. It's JR, co-founder and president of Defy Life and the Defy Life Podcast Network. What's good?
This is Alvin, also known as Big Al. I am a creator and host of the Defy Life show, and been around for several years from the beginning.
All right.
It's Keon Small. I just talk shit about the Falcons, and that's it.
Ric Flair.
Right.
I don't got no title.
Oh man, Keon is also one of the co-founders, but I don't know if he remembers that in his current state. But yeah.
If he's not the co-founder of the Falcons, you don't know.
Right.
No, I came in 2000, so they were already losing by the time I got there.
Oh man, but yeah, man, it's definitely an honor to be here, man. You know, we got the call, and I was scrambling at first because I kind of forgot that all the original members of the Defy Life Network we were back on one show, so that's a good pickup, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Great timing.
I definitely wanted. Y'all story is a story that needs to be heard. Like y'all are from the soil. Y'all pretty much are all brothers, right? For the you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Al and I actually, first cousins. Pretty much we were raised like brothers. So Al and I are actually family. Me and Pooh have known each other since we were 14, and me and Keon were roommates in college. So, and Keon and Pooh have actually, been around my family and kind of become family. I think Al and Keon hung out last since I hung out with Keon. So,
definitely.
That
Wu-Tang.
Oh yeah, the
right.
concert, yeah. I forgot about this shit.
Right. So we become 100, almost 140 episodes in. We become each other's kind of lifeline once a week at least. So,
but at the same time, I've never been in the presence of Pooh.
Right.
But at the same
never
time,
met Pooh?
Yeah,
I've never been in the presence of Pooh. But at the same time, I feel like I know him. Like I've been hanging out with him every week, though.
Right. Yeah.
But I've never actually been in his presence.
That's crazy. All right.
Yeah, but we've got other family members, Al, who are a family with. That's crazy, right? So
I'm sure.
But yeah, it's a crazy dynamic, man. But this.
Oh, but you know what? I'm sure I've been around Pooh like years ago, but I haven't been in the presence of him since the show.
That's true. Yeah. Right.
Well, I haven't either. Now that you say it like that.
Right.
Who has won the most fights?
The one the most fights.
Yeah.
I mean, me simply because I control the microphone, but and just because I like to tell myself that. But I don't know. I think it's pretty. I think it depends on the situation and what we're talking about. Once we start, we all know how to push each other's buttons. So, if I want to pick a fight with Al, let's say I talk shit about the Lakers and Kobe and Magic. If I want to pick a fight with Keon, I'll just say some shit I know he's not going to agree with, even if I don't believe it. And, I get him, once his voice gets to a certain octave, I know I got him.
I got a lot better with that shit. I realize what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, but you still continue to argue, which I never get. I don't know. And then Pooh, like, we say anything about, Michael Jordan or Tupac, Derrick Rose, like, and you got Pooh ain't gonna say much, so you got Pooh. When Pooh start cursing, we know he done lost that fight.
With JR, you say anything about Carmelo Anthony? If you say Carmelo Anthony was a great basketball player, right? Get ready for JR to start saying what, or mention anything about LeBron not being something, and it's like, he's gonna defend LeBron. Yeah. So we know our catch feeling spots, where somebody will catch feelings if we bring up that topic. Right.
So, but everything like. We don't even have like a ring, like judges or like scorecard. We just know once you get to a certain level of pissed off, we know we don't win.
My thing ain't winning, is getting my point across. You know what I mean? Just understand where I'm coming from. Because you ain't never gonna win no argument. Because you ever heard this? It's a person convinced against their will of the same opinion still, or whatever. You got your opinion. You ain't gonna come off, especially like your pride in the way.
Right, not in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it literally may have been maybe twice on this entire show that somebody's been like, you know what? I changed my mind. You right.
Right. But I will say this, though. I have heard people take different stances on a topic over the course of the show, and I think it's because of the conversation. That's so that true. In the moment, our pride, our ego, we're going to keep going at each other. But later on, as we have thought about it, reflected on it, and then that topic comes back up, I've heard people have an evolved perspective.
And that's the reason why you have those conversations.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Right.
To me, it reminds me of the barbershop.
Yeah, you don't have to change your mind. I'm just giving you a different perspective.
Yeah.
It's more to it than what I'm seeing and what you're seeing. So if we both, see what each other sees, we have more vision. Defy life. Defy life. What is Defy life? Why is Defy life?
Man, I've heard more people ask me that damn question.
Right.
And when I first heard it, it made perfect sense to me.
Right.
Yeah. Me too. I was like, I like being defiant.
Right. And that's hey, like everything. And it's crazy. I've been podcasting since before they started calling them podcasts. We just called them shows back then. And it was strictly sports. And at that point, after I was in it for maybe 9 years, and strictly surrounding mostly the NFL draft and sports talk. And I just got to a point where, I wanted to kind of branch out, talk about some other things. From my perspective, my business partners at that time were two white dudes who I love them to death, but they didn't get my perspective a lot of times. And Pooh started writing for the site, the old site that I was working with. And Keon at show, we talk, and he would always express interest around doing kind of the same thing. And, there's something about getting fed up and getting pissed off. Once you start getting pissed off and fed up with yourself, change happens. And so once I got to that point where I was just really sick of talking about sports and it was becoming so routine, I reached out to Keon and Pooh, told them I was ready to make a move and do my own thing, and asked them if they were on board. They said yeah. And I think, it took us, Keon, maybe a week to kind of come up with the name Defy Life, and drew up the logo. And after we built the website and started writing, releasing stuff, maybe 4 days later, Al called me like, yo, I don't know what you're doing with this Defy Life thing, but I like it. I'm digging it. I want to be a part of it. So really in less than a month, like, we were up rolling, just the four of us, writing articles, fussing at each other about who ain't doing what and who's, who needs to do what, and, picking out categories of what we're going to specialize in. But really, Defy Life really just drew from that move of really, life is going to throw a lot of stuff at you. Life is going to throw a lot of crazy shit, like obstacles, bad situations, bad people. But life is also going to throw a lot of good shit at you. Life is going to throw a lot of money your way. Life's going to throw beautiful women your way, amazing opportunities. And Defy Life is really just a stance of defying what people say you should do in those situations. And so really defying what life throws at you and giving a middle finger to the conformist way. And that's how we all have chosen to live our lives at different points. And, we try to, all try to live by that motto of being as defiant as possible, in every single moment and making our own choices.
This disruption brings change.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, like, man, I've been can we curse on this show just for the
Nah.
No cursing.
All of them. No, you can say all of them.
Okay, just checking. So most of my life I've been that dude that said fuck that.
Yeah.
So Defy Life made sense to me from the beginning. And just from as you talk, if you really listen to what he talked about in terms of all that life brings to you, and then how do you respond? And to me, it's about defying life, because life is good, life is bad, but we still got responsibility to do our thing. So for me, how I've always brought it, my mode has been fuck that. I've been the dude. I lost my father at 8. What you gonna do? Fuck that. He died. I was 8 years old. I grew up in Queens when it was the birth of crack 35 years ago. How you gonna live your life? Fuck that. I was a smart kid that went to the white college up in the boonies. Fuck that. I was the dude that brought the first hip hop show to that small white college. First hip hop radio show. Fuck that. Been married 30 years. Fuck that. Defy life. And I don't want to keep dropping the F-bombs, but real talk, like, I just love that energy that we bring and it ain't just the 4 of us, a whole network, including yourself, of people who are resilient, persistent, and the voice that you mentioned, that's that defiant voice that to me is one of our ancestors. You know what I mean? Like, I take it there. We are their descendants, people who survived the most horrific thing that this planet has seen in many instances. We are their descendants. We are the defiance of life.
The ones that couldn't say what we say.
You know what I mean? So that's how I bring it. That's who I am. So I love being part of this every week for that reason. I'm a creator. I get the talk.
All right.
I just had a guest, Dr. Erica. She's a family physician.
Yeah, great episode.
And her book is called "Fuck That Job." Fuck this job. The art of the transition. And like that is defiant within itself.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, and and anytime. Oh, Keon, did you want to say how you defy life before I start ranting?
No, I'm not. It's cool. I'm just having fun.
Yeah, it was like anytime we bring somebody into the network, I always, this is me personally, I always like to have that feeling that they understand what Defy Life means just through their life actions. And, and I ain't gonna lie, I get to stalking people on social media, see what they up to. And yeah, so, I can see what you up to, see if you really define life. And, and Simba, that's one thing I appreciated about you is, one, you're not afraid to say yes. And what I mean by that is when there's an opportunity there, I see you got your hands in everything. And so when there's an opportunity to do something, you say yes, and then you figure out how to do it. And that is the epitome of Defy Life. And so it's that, like, blood that runs through this network that I appreciate everybody on here, and everybody from writers to, podcast hosts to, producers, everybody. Just that blood that flows through Defy Life, because everybody has a sense of, as Al said, fuck that, let's just get it done.
Real. How are we gonna do it? I did my first I did a concert with a live music experience. So it was 2 R&B singers and 2 poets.
That's dope.
I had tacos. It's legally. I'm in California, so it's legal. So I had joints, drinks. We were just passing out joints to people.
That's dope.
Right.
Yeah.
What part of California are you in?
I'm in the Bay. I'm in Oakland.
All right, nice.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful time. I had never put on an event. It was just my whole year of, like you said, saying yes to everything and just being for my people. They came out in droves.
That's dope.
Right.
Of all different types. I had teachers over here. I had the hood niggas over here. I had the squares over here. I had beautiful women everywhere. It was a time in there. I had the brujas and witches over here. Like it was a beautiful situation, and I did all of that in 4 weeks. My business partner, Cal Capricorn, he's an R&B singer. He's like, "Yo, I want you to be my business partner. Man, I'm doing this show. I got the venue. I have the artist." I said, "Cool." He's like, "All I need you to really do is promote." I said, "Bet." With us talking, I've known that man like maybe 2 weeks prior to this. So this is a new relationship. So now I'm working an event with him, and he says, "Oh, Simba, we lost the location, and we lost one of the artists." I said, "You know what? Cool. I have to play." He said, "No, I'm gonna keep looking." Kept looking. We found a loft. We found a beautiful loft, and we were gonna do it. Then that place fell through. I said, "Man, I gotta play."
Wow.
All right, it's the place that we did our event. Shout out to Soul Tree Alchemy. And the price was amazing. The overhead was amazing, and we got it done. And we did great. We did great in 4 weeks.
That's dope.
That is dope.
Added an artist. I did an episode with her, Venus. Venus Mode on Instagram. Venus Monet on Instagram. And she, it was her birthday. She was dropping her first EP. So she had a birthday party, an EP release, and a concert all on the same day.
Wow, that's dope.
I put that together, and I put her on the bill. We made it big for her, just to recognize her and how wonderful she is. It was a beautiful situation, and that was defiant within itself, because I didn't have too much time. Everything seemed like he was like, "Oh no, I need to push it back." I was like, "No, it's a date, and we're gonna do it." Fuck that.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Are you from the Bay Area? Are you from there?
Yeah, born and raised, Oakland, California, baby.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I could interview you. Like, how in the hell y'all do the $2,000 rents and shit out there?
Oh man, just a lot of robbing.
Yeah.
No, it's terrible. I need to figure that out too, because I know the minimum wage is maybe higher here than other places, but it don't last.
Cost of living.
We got 3 jobs. I got 3 jobs.
Okay.
I work in the school system, so I'm at one school all day. I'm a TA during the day, and then I work for the after school program in the evening.
Okay.
So I got it good where I don't have to go anywhere, and I live maybe around the corner from my job. So I have a good. But these people got you 2-3 hours a day, 2-3 different jobs. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. How far are you from Silicon Valley?
That's nothing, but that's maybe like an hour and a half away.
All right.
I'm right across the bridge though from San Francisco. That's about 30 minutes away.
Okay.
Okay.
I can see the bridge from really like my house.
Okay.
Because we right by the water, so we can just see everything.
Right. That's crazy.
So
I work for a school district as well up here in Georgia, down here in Georgia.
You got Georgia? What part of Georgia?
I'm in like Fayetteville, but I work for DeKalb County.
Okay.
like a suburb of Atlanta.
Right. What about everybody?
Yeah, I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's nothing like I've been out there a little bit and seeing how expensive it is. That's why I was tripping. I'm like, God damn, how these people, the homeless population is crazy, and then the wealth is crazy, and everybody in the same, like, right next to each other. That's just wow. It's crazy to me, but. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you got a street full of homeless people.
Yeah.
Right in front of a multi-million-dollar apartment building.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's
wild.
The Bentleys, like the cars I don't even know. Like everybody got a Tesla. It seems like, and then like football teams are homeless people. Like look, just armies. I don't know.
It's scary because if they choose to, they can just everything over.
You like reading my mind right now. You exactly because that's what I think.
Because they're very organized. It's like you see, like we call it Tent City, and it's they're organized. They have a flow. They have an order. It's like this is my area. This is my area. Everybody. It's certain areas where it's just real organized. That if somebody came through with the homeless revolution, it'll be bad for it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Shit.
You would think it was liberal as California is. I don't know. Like they would help more, but I don't know. I can't. Everybody got home. I don't want to shit on California, Oakland, because we got it too. But it seems to be extreme out there though. The wealth and then the poor.
Because you got homeless people from you feel me, like Atlanta coming out here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna be homeless, that's a great place to be homeless weather-wise.
Get the fuck out of California.
Mm-hmm.
We got mad at homeless people and people who coming in trying to like work and stuff. So not only are the transplants like not helping the economy, then you got people coming and just getting rich off of it.
Wow.
I never thought about a homeless revolution, but that's
you just said like you thought it through, because that makes hella sense. If those people rise, man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, but like most things, it takes the first person to do it, and usually that never happens because that first person is usually the one that's gonna get killed, and nobody wants to be that dude.
Right. And then a lot of them are geniuses, but a lot of them are just strung out, and a lot of them are just can't get it together.
Right.
Whether it's mental instability or anything like that.
Yeah. On the homeless, you got a little bit of everything.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Veterans, mental health, people who just lost their job. It's a lot of families. It's
Yeah, because it's like they have their whole house. It's just outside.
Right.
Yeah.
So house TVs and stuff like that. Like,
wow.
So I've never been to Bay San Francisco. I'm looking at you like up with like Virginia. So what's the weather? Is it tropical or is it kind of
tropical?
I
mean, I don't know.
Puerto Rico.
Like right now, it's cold. So, but it's sunny. It's sunny all day, but the chill factor, because we're so close to the ocean, is bone shaking.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I see you further up north in LA. So that's why. So when the reason I asked that question, I think about the homeless people being outside and it being that far north. That had to be kind of brutal, I would think, but I don't know.
Like I'm saying, it's bone shaking. Like,
yeah.
Not just cold, like because y'all have. I'm sure y'all have snows and stuff like that.
Sometimes
it don't get easy, but just the type of cold. I've heard people like New York. My homegirl from New York, she came out here in like June or something like that, July or something like that, and it gets cold at night because we're by the water. And she was like, I've done blizzards and it hasn't been this cold.
Damn. All right.
Because it seeps into your skin.
Yeah, and not to, I know it's cliche, but I'm sure it's a different kind of cold. With the like constant breeze off the water. You know,
Right.
in New York, like temperature is just cold and you bundle up, you all right for the most part. But like that wind just cuts through everything you wear.
Yeah. And then the moisture in the water is
Oh yeah.
over. It's over for you.
Wow, that's crazy.
The thing I enjoy about this network, other than the fact that is everybody of color?
Color. He said everybody of color.
Are we all melanated?
Yeah. Everybody. We got Chab Dog is the only. Well, Chab Dog's Jewish. So. We ain't got, yeah. Huh?
I said my Hebrew brother.
Right, exactly. So that's some. I'm like, what was this Al-Kian? Maybe 2 years ago, we had one white dude who was a writer, and he lasted like 2 articles and disappeared.
Oh yeah.
And then right, and then he showed up. I don't even think I told y'all this. He showed up maybe 6 months ago, like he ain't never been here before. And reached out to me. He was like, "Yo, I want to write on your network." I was like, "I don't even know if this dude remembers he was actually here before." So it's kind of like this reverse stereotype on Defy Life, where like, the Caucasian dudes ain't dependable, and they just show up to work when they want to, try to make you forget they used to work here. Like so, shout out to the owner, like Anthony Katz was his name. Shout out to you, Anthony.
What did you say to him? You left that part out.
I ain't reply to that shit.
Oh, you say
no.
Don't call us. We'll call
right. Because at that point, somebody comes on, it's a matter of setting them up, giving them logins and all that shit. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. So, but yeah, so Chab Dog is Jewish. But yeah, it's and Scott's mixed. So yeah, we shout out to regular Scott from Take a Knee from Marvel vs. DC. Scott's our resident mixed guy. So anytime I want a white dude's perspective, I ask half of Scott.
Yeah, half of Scott.
Right.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's just our voices. I love that it does not. And everybody has, like you said, has a difference of opinion. So it shows the complexity in how we think. We're not just a monolith.
Right.
We all, and in the various shows that you have, the knowledge that's being given in each show, like they can't, like if all these shows were like Tyler Perry movies, like it would be pointless.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But people are doing it respectfully. People are doing it intelligently, and in an entertaining way as well, in a very diverse, like you said, perspective. To me, is what and funny. I mean, it's some real good shows on this network.
Right. Yeah, and that's the one thing I can really appreciate is, the fact that, it's that camaraderie, and like Al mentioned earlier, a lot of times it's people that you never even met face to face. But it's this natural camaraderie, and you listen to one show and you're like, oh shit, it's West Coast J showed up on another show, or it's Pooh showed up on somebody else's show. So it's it's an actual network where we everybody is not afraid to reach out and to benefit off of each other and help each other grow, and don't mind speaking and talking to each other and reaching out. And then there's also, like you said, this like plethora of perspectives, that everybody can kind of appreciate. That I don't always have to agree with this person, but for one, it's going to be a dope ass conversation because of those differences, and two, if we're being honest, it makes for good shows when people disagree.
Yeah, I did a show. So My show was different before you heard it.
Mm.
And I had a co-host who was trying to start a podcast. So, he reached out to his friends and everybody flaked on him, but me. And he was, he got disappointed. He was like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. But no, I'm going to be here every week. Fuck that. Mm-hmm. See, I like that. I'm right along with you. I say fuck that a lot. That's the title of this episode.
Hey, yes.
But yeah, it's. I was there, and it was just like I was basically the antagonist in the situation, and it got to a point where he couldn't keep a grasp on real life and the show.
Wow.
So it was like he was like getting offended by the things that I was saying. It was like, I'm just trying to make great content.
Right.
Like, come on, bro.
Right.
Like,
but that's difficult to do for some people. Like, that's one thing, especially like from this show in particular, from our show. That's something I've always appreciated amongst the four of us. Is we've literally, like, at some point, at one or another, or all of us, like, we've gotten to points where we've cursed each other out and gotten pissed. I mean, genuinely pissed on air. To the point where, like, we cursing each other out. And next week, the next day, we texting each other like, that's the show. That we good.
But thing though, I don't play radio. Everything I say, I believe 100%. I don't fucking. And if I get the feeling that you saying something you don't believe, I shut down. I don't. I feel like we saying what we believe though. Don't tell me.
No, absolutely we do. But I mean, but again, we all have points where we know how to trigger each other. Within that truth. Yeah. So like if there's something a little bit extra I can say to get you to a point, on top of what I believe, I'm gonna go there. Like, I know this is gonna really piss him off. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not one who likes to get pissed off in public. So when the shit happens, like, I'm caught up. Like, I recognize, like,
right.
Oh man. Like, he got me there. He got me. But I'm definitely keeping it real. But I just I'm a person who tends to keep mine more close to the vest in public.
I think we had the Obama did nothing for black people, which I still believe 100%. I heard you breathing.
I was like, are you serious right now?
So we have had our moments, but I believe in it, and I feel Al do too, or Jay as well. Well, I don't know about Jay. Jay argued the different. He just fucking with me though.
But I do agree. I do believe what I'm saying. But like, you such an easy target to me, man, because like I know how to push your buttons so easily. So like, like,
be emotional.
Yeah, you're emotional. I get it. But like, you go back, like the good thing is, like Simba, like you said, when you're able to separate the show from real life, you go back and listen to the show the next day or 2 days later, and those are the funniest moments. Like when somebody was pissed off and like in their feelings about something, or even if it's you, like you like, damn, I was mad as fuck. But those are the times like you listen and you like, yo, that's some funny shit.
And it's funny too. I probably would do what you did just to fuck with the dude, though. If I know he mad,
right?
Then I'm gonna do it on purpose.
Right. Especially when I know it's a trend. Man, this dude really get mad at me. Like, let's see what I'm talking. Right.
And I'm an asshole, so I'm eating this pig.
Yeah. So how many episodes did it take him to walk away?
Oh, we rocked from September till we stopped in January of last year.
Wow.
Every week.
So like September 2018 to about January.
Okay.
We released our episode in January.
Well, like once a week.
Yeah, Saturday.
Okay.
We record on Saturdays.
So January, he was like, "New year, new me. Fuck this, I'm out."
It was the people who he actually wanted on the show. Once we started picking up steam, and we made the Instagram, and we started posting stuff. Then they were like, "Oh, well, we want to do it too now." And he never had that conversation with me that he was going to be all of us, every single week.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm interviewing them, and we just like kicking it, but they coming back every week, and it was unintelligent, just banter. It wasn't.
Yeah.
They were talking,
Right.
At one point, they were, like you said, they were screaming at each other, but they're talking about like who's stronger. Like,
Oh God.
like, what are we doing, and why are you this loud? I couldn't do it. I was like, that's not this show. I'm like, we can do that show, but this show isn't that.
Yeah.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is that's
for me.
Yeah, and that's it's an interesting. Sometimes I'll go back and listen to like our first few episodes. Shout out to Rodney McDaniel, and just realize how bad we were.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to learn how to dance with each other.
Right.
And so when you're right, when you're trying to do one kind of show, and you don't know how to dance with each other, and you end up doing something completely different than what you set out to do. Especially when you got that many voices, it can be a pretty bad experience.
And everybody wants to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
I've never felt that though here. I don't think.
Sense.
Hmm.
Y'all have some sense. It's not just.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and we had those conversations. Like that's what you said. If he never had that conversation with you to say like, "Yo, we adding these people to the show?" Like anytime we make changes to the show, we have those conversations. Even if it's something that pretty much has to be done, I always ask, is this cool with y'all? Or if somebody has a problem with the time, y'all mind if we change the time up, or the show's getting too long? Like any of those conversations, because you don't, like, we do this for the most part. We do this because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so you don't want it to become a nuisance in your life, because then you're going to hate doing the show, and it's going to show in the quality.
And it's also business, man. Like,
right.
You changing up a recipe that's working, and that was the
right.
thing. Like with us too, I still listen back to those episodes. Those episodes were gold. They were gold because the type of conversation we were having,
right.
and we were how we were so opinionated, and we were so just on both on either sides of the fence. Like we were like the perfect scale, because
right.
we were and off balance at the same time. Even when we agreed, I would still give a different perspective. So those conversations, I'm like, I was upset that I couldn't use those conversations.
Right.
Because those are good. They're really good. But what I'm doing right now is helping way more than I was doing then.
Right. Yeah.
It's a beautiful situation to see that, because every single thing that I said I was going to do, that I was telling him, hey, like, I'm going to, at first it was like, I'm going to get other podcasts so I can start the podcast network. Like, I'm going to, be at these events so everybody can know who we are, and, know what the brand is and everything like that. I said that to him, like, every single time I saw him, like, bro, I plan to be out here, bro. And he was like introverted. He don't like people. He things like that. So it really didn't work per se as far as business. But he even had a dream one day. He said, "Yo, I had a dream that we signed that you brought a podcast deal to us." I was like, okay.
So is he still podcasting with the other dudes, or he totally gave up?
I mean, I don't know if I can call it a podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
I would have said that. But would that bring me to a question for you? What makes a bad podcast?
Well, I got two answers to that. One, from a podcast network director's point of view, it's you're selling two things. You're selling sound quality and content. All right. So if your sound quality is not good, your content may be enough to kind of keep people listening for a couple episodes. But if your sound quality is not good, if it sounds good in your, in your earphones, but you go listen to it in the car and it sounds like shit, like different, stuff like that. You want to be consistent. So, and then content wise, if there's no consistency there, if you're only doing, if you do a show once a week for a month and then you drop off the face of the earth for 3 months and then, so content wise, so from a podcast director's perspective, there's that. But from a podcast host perspective, you got to rock with motherfuckers you like.
Yeah.
That you like talking to, and and you got to have fun with it. Like if we didn't have fun with this show, like if we were like so structured, and y'all remember that conversation, Al, Keon, remember that conversation we had before we started, like trying to like stay in that happy medium of like having structure but not being so structured where we like rigid. And we had those conversations, like really trying to figure out, like, we don't want to be just like a barbershop where everybody's talking over each other, but we want to have some element of that where everybody's free to say what they want to say.
I think where I was coming from with that, I learned is that you just got to do it, and then it'll kind of fall into place, and keep doing it, and then it'll work itself out.
Right. Yeah, and we've seen that too. Is learning how to dance with each other, learning each other's personalities. We know sometimes Pooh gonna go an entire show and say 18 words.
Yeah, you want to say that?
That's hilarious.
Right. And,
he could be on the podcast now for all we know.
Right. Yeah. Like we know. But we know, like when Pooh gets passionate about it, is something passionate. Pooh gonna tell all of us, man, go ahead with that, shut the fuck up, and he gonna say what he want to say. You're right. Go on with that. But we know that certain topics that Keon gonna say, I don't know shit about this, man. I'm just gonna be quiet right now. Like we talking baseball. Or, we talking some shit that you really don't care about, you're going to be like, man, I don't even care, or women's basketball.
I was going to say that. The beat came in. I was like, that was a beat from God. It stopped. I literally...
right.
So WNBA chiming in, trying to say that women's basketball is legitimate. Like, it's a sport, man. Do you remember? Do you remember having that conversation? I got a guest on, and you like came at her like that, Keon?
So, Simba, this is our first guest we ever had on the show, right? She's a former WNBA player. It's the first guest we ever had on the show, and Keon jumps out with, "Yo, I don't think women's basketball is an actual sport." I was like, what the fuck is this dude doing?
Yeah,
but
my mouth was just like, what?
Right.
Then I took a nap. I don't remember saying that, but I don't remember saying anything. I just tuned out.
Was that mad?
Oh man.
Nah, man. She just it was funny. It was funny.
Right.
And,
but she rolled with it because she, of course, and she acknowledged they hear that all the time. So she rolled with it and actually addressed it in a great fashion. But yeah, man, that was the point we realized that we had an actual wild card on the show, and we didn't know what the fuck Keon would say at any moment. But but it's those things that keep, But when I went back to listen to it, I was like, yo, that shit is hilarious. So
and it does reflect a very popular sentiment in this country. You know what I mean? Like the women's basketball is not a particularly popular sport for a reason, and maybe not everyone to the extreme that it's not a sport. You know what I mean? But we can be extreme at moments, especially when we get caught up when we talking, and we learn that of each other, not to get so caught up in to take people so literal all the time, knowing that we having a conversation. So if I happen to say, like, LeBron wasn't this, or Tom Brady wasn't this, or the Falcons ain't this, sometimes just let that flow and really focus more on the essence of what a person is saying as much as every little adjective that a person is saying. Like,
the stuff I like to watch is the same stuff that I'm not, how can I say this? Now I'm being see, that's the thing. When I try to be nice, I can't talk. I don't even know how to say stuff the nice way. So I just say what I want, and then I'm a student. I'm not even going to just hold myself back. It's saying I ain't at work. I ain't no fucking church. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not having fun and just being relaxed, then this shit ain't no fun. I don't even want to do it. And I'm just saying what Jay just said. So, women's basketball is not a sport. They should be home cooking shit. They're not running up and down the court. I'm like, because I love women MMA, so that I'll look at. And me and Jay went back and forth on that, but
Man, you be bugging, bro. That's all.
Captain K, man.
I'm gonna get a WNBA player to bust your ass in 1-on-1.
I play basketball. But I'm telling you, like women MMA, I'm actually a big fan of that. But just women playing basketball, really, no one wants to look at that except for their families. You know what I mean? This shit is just not good, yo. For real.
You deserve a raise, bro.
That's key.
Oh man,
hater, I love it.
All right,
that's what I was doing. That was the type of shit that I was.
You're right. Like, you one syllable away from calling them nappy-headed hoes.
No. What's dude just died? Yeah, that guy.
Well, I'm
right. You're about to be a shock job.
Right.
But it's just real. It's really how I feel. I'm not joking. You're laughing, but I'm dead serious.
We know. we need to know.
You're nuts, bro. Honestly.
Wow.
Does it? What is something that? How long have you been doing this network?
Our show, of course, was the first show on the it wasn't even a network then. We just had a show. So I think, and that was we're 140 episodes in, so it's a little over 2 years. So we've been, a little over 2 years. But we actually, I think with the second show that actually started us the idea of actually building a network was Staley in English, Yosh and Josh, the high school basketball coaches. Right. So that we actually became a network. They came aboard about a year and a half ago. So so about a year and a half, we actually started building the network.
What's been the biggest pitfall you've had in that year and a half?
Oh man, and I say this, I always say on the show, niggardry knows no color. So niggas, man, and what I mean by that is, I had to learn to decipher when somebody's serious about joining the network.
Right.
Because at first we're so excited about building and we're so excited about having new voices come on. And every time somebody says, "Oh man, I want to do a podcast," it's kind of like it's kind of like having a record label where everybody's a rapper. So, really just having those conversations up front, multiple conversations, realize, somebody's really serious about doing this, because this ain't for everybody. It's a grind at times, especially when you have co-hosts, like you mentioned, different personalities, schedules you got to work out. So that was the most difficult part at first, is, shutting people down early and telling them no, instead of just giving everybody a chance. because, you know, it ends up biting you in the ass a lot of times. I mean, as we've grown and gotten bigger, I think that's the actual issue, like, currently is, you know, and it's a good problem to have, is to be growing faster than you thought you would. So right now, it's just a matter of containing that growth and being able to have your hands on everything you used to have your hands on.
Man, I do it well. Y'all do it well. Just a little bit of insider information. Just the professionalism that I've seen is just immaculate.
Like, oh man, appreciate it.
Emails get responded to with the quickness. It's all professional, and every time I hear a show, it's professional. And yeah, I'm not even just saying that because I'm on the network. I've been listening in the podcast since 2017, 2016, maybe. And it's the growth of the medium is beautiful to see.
Right.
Like you said, it was back when it was just radio shows, just internet radio shows.
Mm-hmm.
Where now it's people are making millions of dollars off a podcast.
Right.
And the fact that you said, "Hey, I want to own my own," is a beautiful. This market is a beautiful thing, because that in itself, once again, is defying life. Like, okay, I could take this show and give it to a network, but I want to own it. I want to give people the opportunity to build their podcasts up.
Right.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, appreciate that. And that's kind of the goal, you know, when we do bring somebody on. Of course, you know, one of the things we tell everybody is it's your show. You know, we're never going to tell you what to say, what to talk about. We're never going to put any reins on you. The one thing I always ask of every host that we bring on is have fun and make it your own. And because in the big scheme of things, like, we ain't curing cancer. If you fuck something up, we can fix it. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, you know, so I tell everybody, have fun, you know, push the boundaries, defy life. But, you know, the difficult part is, you know, like I said, in that growth is making sure that, you know, the people that were here when we had 2 shows or 3 shows feel the same way they do now that we have 10 shows. You know, and everybody really has, again, that grasp of community and networking, where, you know, I don't always have to be a middle person. Everybody always reaches out and says, "Hey, what's so-and-so's number? I want them on my show." Or I just want to have a conversation with them. So everybody on the network is really good about that. So I'm not always having to mediate.
Yeah, that's a good thing too.
All right.
Yeah. I think that, like I said, it's definitely not a shot to y'all, but it can be. My favorite show on the network is Relationship Status.
Mm-hmm.
And that show is basically speaks my life.
Oh, really?
It's like I'm always having those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always, because I have tons of like women friends who have bullshit dudes in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly having these conversations. I'm constantly giving advice. So I'm taking notes when I listen to that show.
All right. Yeah, damn good show. Yosh, CL, and Nick do a great job with that show. You know, it's funny. You know, us 4 being married dudes, me, Pooh, Keon, and Al, we always have, you know, different perspectives than they talk about, because, you know, there's 3 single people on that show, so we always like offering different perspectives and you know, trying to bogart their topics and and trying to bum rush our way on their show. Shout out to Relationship Status. We still ain't got our invite, but yeah, man, it's damn good show. You know, Al always, you know, Al likes to say it's It's like college versus, what would you say, college versus elementary school?
Yo, that was my asshole moment on the show. I was like, yeah, they like high school, we in college. Been there, done that, son. But when you listen to the show, I ain't really done that because I ain't been single in 25, 30 years. Mm-hmm. So, you know, while I'm living a different life and my perspective is different, my point wasn't really at the time more hierarchy thing where I'm real past y'all. It was just more like I'm living a different life because the life that a single person is living right now, like to me, that's some on so calculus shit. Like I don't even know how folks doing it out there single because it's harder than Chinese math.
Man, it's disgusting out here.
Man. God. Oh man, yeah, I really don't. Yeah, I don't know how y'all do it.
I think about it all the time being single. And I'm like, no, I really only want a woman like a wife or something when I get hungry.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I'm like, that's not a good reason to get married, bro.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm like, stay single. Because best believe when you get married, she ain't gonna fix your damn sandwiches then. So
that's what I'm saying. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right. All the sandwiches.
Yeah, like yeah, I mean, like Al said, it's a different, you know, it's different things you just think about, worry about, prioritize. You know, it's like a lot of the conversations I tell Yosh all the time. Like a lot of the conversations on relationship status, I don't even think about. Like I wouldn't even think about them because it's just not part of my life. Right. You know, and a lot of them, I'm like, oh, I never even thought about that shit because you know I don't have to go through it. You know, but that's like from that perspective, they give a lot of good angles and a lot of good perspectives on that show.
It has some great debates.
Right.
And they have definitely found the recipe of like bouncing off of each other and working together. And yeah.
That's the one thing I'm jealous of. It's like, am I the only podcast on the network with just one host?
The only active one, yes. Tyrone, Brother Kimmett, is on hiatus, so he should be back within the next month or so. And Chab Dog occasionally is by himself, but for the most part he has, because he takes call-in. So his call-in people who are regulars are pretty much turned into his co-host. So, yeah, you're the only one week in and week out that's riding solo.
That shit sucks, man. That's why I try to like mask it with like my special guest.
Yeah, but that's what I was about to say. Like but you have the benefit of, you know, having like one-on-one conversations with some dope ass people.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. And because my style of just like comedy and just like my the way I live my life, I'm more of like I'm a punch-in type dude. Like I like you can set a joke up and I'll just come through and just time I'm on that.
Right.
It was easy when like I had another co-host who you know would be talking. I could just slide in for 2 seconds and say bam bam and then slide right back out.
Right.
Like, I could just be that type of person. So now it's like I got so many jokes in my head, but I have to lead the conversation. Like it'll be just 30 minutes of me just riffing.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. Like Keon always mentions, I don't even know if he's actually up to it or he's just talking shit. But he always says like we should, you know, rotate being the host and the mediator.
No, I'm dead ass serious. I'm gonna bring it up again, but I forgot till you just said it.
Yeah, you but he'll never send in no topics. But yeah, we good.
Nigga, I send topics every week. You ignore them shit.
What topics you?
You know, you talking about Santa Claus and shit. Nigga, I talk about some shit.
Al, you remember Keon sending the topic?
I haven't heard one.
Yeah, I said I don't even want to say because I don't want to give them my idea. But yeah, I got some ideas.
You got one? Okay. We'll take your one topic.
He said, "I'm a host. I don't need no damn topic. Y'all get the topic."
That too.
But yeah, but it's different when you do have to change, the style of show, and you have to change how you mediate and how you host the show, based off of the circumstances. So you got to be able to roll with the punches.
Last question before I go. What is some advice you would give me as a new podcast?
I think I pretty much said it most of all is, have fun and make it your own. Don't try to be anybody else. I think we all see stuff from other shows that seems to be working from them, and it's tempting at times to say, hey, maybe we should incorporate this. But then I think you lose yourself in that. And I'm sure there's other people listening to your show and our show and other shows that's looking at you as inspiration. So always keep it your own. And, with that comes the final thing is, stay consistent and don't quit. So as long as it's yours and you're having fun with it, you're going to keep doing it. So that's what I would say.
I like the consistent part. Only thing I would add is don't be afraid, be willing to grow. There was, I don't know how long ago, maybe a year, 6 months, whatever it was, but someone on the network sent around some surveys, right, to all of the podcast hosts but the surveys were about other shows. You know what I mean? So we were giving feedback to other shows. And to me, that just shows, as a network, a willingness to at least self-reflect and, gather data to inform, how you go forward. And so don't be afraid to grow. But then the other thing is, do your thing. Whatever your thing is, just do it well. And just keep trying to modify and just modify that craft. So that'd be my advice.
Thank you. It's been great. So how do you guys give back to your community?
We do things every, on yearly basis. Sometimes during the holidays. So like every Easter, Pooh has this up. He teams with Volunteering While Black out of Texas, and so we do care baskets for the homeless. On Easter, we do giveaways around holiday season. We sponsor community events. This year we sponsored. We were the sponsor for the back to school event in South Carolina, in my hometown of Newberry. We've sponsored food drives, all kinds. Anytime something comes up, the partners get together. Kim from Anything, Everything, and Nothing is really good. Her and Tyrone, Pooh, Yosh, we all get together, and whenever something comes up that we have an idea about, we vote on it, see how much we can contribute, and we always try to keep our hands on something and giving back.
That's what I'm about. I'm about my people. I'm about giving back.
Yes.
Man, all of last year, because I'm a photographer, all last year, going to events, community events, things like that, taking pictures at the moment, free. Just because I wanted, one, to get my name out, and two, to get better, and three, to give back. I wanted to give my community, make sure, hey, I'm a staple. I'm here. Find my tribe, and I found it. It was actually my homegirl, Sierra Salome. She's an amazing artist. She listens to my podcast, and she loves it. And she journals about it. So she notes as she's reading. So she's taking quotes that I've said or that the guest says, and she just takes notes on things that I'm saying, as well as keeping herself accountable. So she's writing notes to herself, are you doing this? How are you shining today? How are you giving back? Things like that. And I just think that that's the type of thing that keeps me going. what I'm doing actually is affecting people's lives.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
Becoming accountable through our conversation. That's the most rewarding. Because I felt like saying fuck it to this show multiple times.
Right. Yeah.
Before I started rocking with y'all, I was like, man, I'm uploading every week and I'm not getting no listens and anything like that. I might as well just say fuck it and do something else.
All right. Yeah. And that's and a lot of that is one, it's the beauty in networking. And two, which is, a lot of, it's a big part of the reason why we wanted to start the network is to give people that platform. And I think that's a way of giving back as well, to give people a voice and to make people's voice as widespread as possible. Because there's power in having people take heed to what you say. So sometimes when, like, but I think our first couple episodes, we had 4 listeners, 8 listeners, and those, and of course 4 of them was us. So, and to see that growth and, and especially, like you said, when new shows come aboard or somebody that's just starting and don't know where to start doing a podcast, don't know anything about it, they just know they want to start one, and seeing that show grow, like I'm so proud of like Lynn and Kim and the growth that they've shown, because they didn't, when Lynn approached Kim about doing a podcast, like Kim was like, what's a podcast? And so that's how raw they were. And Yosh actually started with Lynn. Yosh was like, yo, y'all talk every day for hours. You should do a podcast. And so we literally had to like build from ground up with them, and they've done an awesome job. So to see that growth and to have people have the opportunity to be on a platform vocally, as well as have the opportunity to write and all that stuff, like to get your word out and to actually see your voice grow, it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think with this show, I think you talk about, giving back and your voice and talking. But I think what's special about this show is people are more than just talking. Mm-hmm. So there are people I think basically at the essence of it, people are being good citizens, but people are being good fathers. People are being good coaches, good friends, good husbands. So I think beyond the fact that we are committing to once a week, talking shit, talking about a subject, going after each other on a day-to-day basis, though, we some high-quality people.
True.
That commit to once a week coming together to talk about a couple of topics from our perspective. But I think to me, the power of this is that there's some pretty dope people at the table too.
Right. That's true.
In terms of actions, not just words, in terms of actions.
Yeah. And the opportunity that we give each other to spotlight those moments, and to spotlight ourselves as individuals. I've heard it several times from listeners, excuse me, as they appreciate the fact that we check in on each other and we catch up on life actually on the show. So
the good and the bad.
Right, exactly. And we joke, we clown each other, we make each other mad, but it's family. At the end of the day, we know what we're all about. We know, I operate on this show, and I think we all do, from the same realm that I operate in life. Is I don't rock with shady dudes. So right. So if you ain't taking care of your kids, I can't rock with you. If you beating your woman, I can't rock with you. I can love you from a distance. So same thing on this show, is we always hold each other accountable to make sure that we are upstanding men, and we check in on each other's lives and kids and wives and trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs. So it's like you said, it's not just that commitment to come and talk about stuff every week, but to actually care about each other. Because I know a lot of people that love each other but don't care about each other.
That's fact. it shows this network just shows the integrity of Black men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are not no minstrel show. Like we are showing the righteousness of Black people. Like if just this network alone, if this was in suburban households, how could you tell us? How could you say that you hate us?
Yeah,
all of our podcasts. How could you? Because you're gonna love the shows.
Mm-hmm.
You ever say that you hate us? You can see the complexity in every single person who touches the mic.
All right. Yeah.
I appreciate y'all for bearing with me and we had difficulties earlier, but I appreciate y'all for holding in with me. And I have one more segment, and the segment I like to give my listeners something to think about during the week.
Mm-hmm.
So this segment is called The Diagnosis. That's my favorite part of the whole show. I never want to just want to do the sound effects every single time. My favorite shit ever. I don't even want to talk to y'all. I just want to do the diagnosis. But diagnosis number 1. Fuck that. Live your life. Give yourself the grace to be free. Don't allow the society's pressures and all that to weigh you down and give you a sense that you're not gonna make it. If you want to make it, you're gonna succeed no matter what.
Facts.
Number 2, allow for different perspectives. Like I said in the beginning, like my vision and your vision, we're just looking straight. When you have somebody that has their back towards you, and they're looking the opposite way, now they have your back. They can see something that you're not able to see. You put another person there on the side of y'all. Now that's 3 perspectives. So there's no way that you'll, get attacked because I'm looking from all the perspectives. I'm not just looking at one. You have to allow yourself to see that other side of the fence, even if you don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many conversations. There's so many arguments that I've gotten in just defending a point that I didn't even believe. I'm just like, I hear what you're saying and I agree with you, but look at it like this. It's like, oh, what you done? I'm like, yo, just look at it like that. I'm not telling you to believe it. This could be true.
All
right. And the last one, I'm gonna put it in quotes. I put it in quotes. Have fun, push boundaries, and defy life.
Damn right.
Word.
All right.
Fellas, one more time, let my millions of fans know who you are, where to find you on Instagram and all that.
No doubt. It's J.R. Glimpf, one of the hosts of the Defy Life Podcast. You can find Defy Life on all social media platforms at Go Defy Life. You can find my personal pages at J.R. Glimpf. It's JRGLYMPH. But yeah, definitely go to defylifepods.com. Give us a follow, register there, communicate and interact with all the shows on the network. And Simba, appreciate it, man. There's anytime you need us, we here.
Love.
This Alvin. You can find my social media at Alvin Glimp, GLYMPH. And enjoyed it. Great conversation. Simba, if I ever make it out to the Bay, I'm hollering. You sound like a brother I want to kick it with and hang out with. So I will come check you. If you ever come to the A, you got folks in the A. I'll check out the show. Really enjoyed this.
And you can find me at Best Med Pod on Instagram. We got YouTube now, so go on Defy Life.
Okay.
Defy Life on YouTube.
Okay.
So,
All right. The entire network is out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fellas, appreciate y'all, man. Y'all. I look up to y'all, man.
Hey, absolutely. Likewise, man. Keep doing this. We're gonna keep rocking this thing out, man.
OGs in the podcast game, man. This is the Best Man Pod. It's your man Simba Rawr back in this thing one more time, bruh. And we out.
Peace.